Well, Focus Gaming News today, we're very pleased to have with us Stanislav Silin, Chief Executive Officer at the sportsbook software provider Altenar. Stanislav, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting.
How are things there? I believe you're joining us from Dubai.
Well, at this point in time, I find myself there exactly because normally I'm in Malta, but Malta has recently got a little bit tough on regulation with schools going fully remote. So it made a bit of sense.
Excellent. Well, just to begin with, then, perhaps if you could tell us a little bit about how you've seen the last year, how Altenar has fared during the unprecedented global pandemic, and whether you've noticed any change in demand from your side.
So it's a question that have been asked a number of times last couple of months, I would say. It was a bit uncertain exactly this time last year, but back in May, June, it was already getting better. And since June, I would say that I don't know how other sportsbook providers or sportsbook operators have fared, but it looked not different from the norm. Yes, of course, there is some slightly different pattern on what sports activities were available, like tennis restarted a bit late in the year last year, but in so long as the activities are taking place, I don't think the bookmakers are actually having, at least online bookmakers, I have to make that distinction, are having a problem. With regards to land-based, I think the situation is far different.
Of course. Well, what's Altenar been doing in this time? I know you've been updating your products, you're offering with a new version of the sportsbook. I
see. Well, it's an opportunity to regroup. It's an opportunity to do some, let's say, housekeeping, and we've taken the opportunity of the slow time last year around April, May, to launch our new version of the sportsbook, which we tried only on a selected group of customers, which were, let's say, smaller customers. And until now, we have had very good feedback. And I mean, the new version is better in terms of technology. It's geographically distributed in terms of the application delivery network, from, let's say, the technical aspect, but from the features aspect, it's also using a newer engine for content aggregation, so that it can have multiple sources, multiple content, and odds providers could feed into it, and that overall has the capacity of creating a much better product that we can roll out in the coming months. In fact, we're in the process of migrating a number of operators to it, which would be of a higher, let's say, caliber than before.
Okay. And do you have a rough timeline of when it's going to be rolled out across all of the customers?
To be honest, we don't want to force customers on a timeline because we're happy to support both products at the same time. We're quite used to be doing that since we've been developing the second platform for a number of years. And so it's not exactly a resource drain. We're used to it. It's business as usual. And our migration timeline or customers' migration timeline really depends on them. So they have to be ready, they have to be comfortable, and some can do earlier and take up the, let's say, the interesting features that they're there, or some may want to stick on the older platform for a little bit longer until they're ready. Also looking how others are doing. It's not like we're stopping support, but the further development will obviously eventually be on the newer platform.
Yeah, where do you think things will go from here now? What features, what tools do you think the sportsbook of the future will need to contemplate?
It's very interesting. What we have seen during the coronavirus lockdown is that there's been a lot of push, not just for what's on the surface at the time when there were no sports events was virtual, but virtuals isn't really, let's say, the only new trend that's out there. There's simulated reality events. There is more esports. There is, I would say, different flavors of synthetically generated content, and I think of that there will be more because, of course, the real sports do have an appeal, but unless it's real sports of tier one category, it might not actually make a difference whether it's synthetically generated or it's real. And obviously, you can't have a Premier League match every single hour of the day. So, so this content will obviously there will be more of it, I think. And of course, the younger generation that's going to grow, which may have grown with esports, may come up is an important aspect of the sports betting in the future. But I think there is some, let's say, more innovative bet models or betting types that need to emerge to make it simple. I think esports is still a very much of a niche market for those who really understand it at this point in time.
Yes, we've heard quite different opinions on the future of esports, virtual sports as well. And yeah, some people see a difficulty in it breaking out of that niche category and becoming a mainstream option. Do you think that might change with the younger generation?
Yeah, it's very difficult to make a prognosis for the future. But let's say that those people who are not really your betting audience today, but they are, let's say, active esports players, and assuming the esports continues taking off in the same trend, a few years down the line, maybe higher spenders. They might have more of a buying power than they are at the moment, and then perhaps that will be that will work out for the sports betting industry too. But there has to be something for them, which would be not just this gambling feel to it. There has to be more competition in it, because I think they are a different type of demographic, and that's why I mentioned that the betting types and the betting offer needs to adapt over time to be appealing to this customer base.
Well, in terms of markets, then, what markets do you have your eyes on from Altenar, and what do you see as the most exciting? Perhaps
geographical locations,
yeah, in geographical sense, yeah. Which markets do you think is the most interesting for expansion of sports betting?
Okay, usually a question like that is more suitable for a B2C who actually you see, when they make their marketing efforts and they launch a product in a particular region, they get an instant return on that. They get an instant response. You make advertising, or you make whatever campaigns you can do in terms of attracting players and acquiring players, you get a result. For a B2B, it's a bit more difficult. You follow where your operators are. And what I can say is that we've had, obviously, because of the success we've had in South America, we have quite a number of requests from South America. But we also see, and that's also a general trend, very often the operators are asking, how about India? How about that region? So let's say a couple of years ago it would have been unexpected. Now it's a trend.
It's interesting. Market India.
I'm sure you've heard about this. I'm not the first person to tell you about that.
It's what is it? Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything that you're personally excited about or looking forward to for the next year?
If we have to look at just pure numbers and geography, everyone's aware of Africa being an emerging market. Now, if that becomes a bit more wealthy, clearly there's more betting there. Because Europe, as is a good, stable market, but very saturated, very difficult, highly regulated. You can do well there because you will do just as well as others, but that's not exactly going to be an easy place to make big revenues. Africa may still be this wild place to explore that may still have this appeal to it.
Excellent. Well, Stanislav, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you with us, and we'll hope to speak to you again later in the year.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting for this interview.
Okay, Stanislav Silin, thank you.
Thank you.